What is up, down, and sideways, all you beautiful creatures? This is League Unlocked. That is Mark. My name is Eric, and the wait is over. The LCK is back, and they came back in style with this summer split video. I felt like I was watching a Worlds preview.
Hey, we've criticized the hype videos that we were getting from the LCK since Riot Korea took over, but man, this one is pretty darn awesome. Spring Split wasn't bad, man. We were going to the ship. We were looking like a champ.
It was a meme producer for sure. Yeah.
Now we've actually got players looking like a champ, looking like the champs in the game of League of Legends. Man, Faker looking royal as that Azir at the very end of it.
He also looks like he's 6'5". I don't know if the height proportions were correct. I guess they're titans of their players. I don't know, but they can only do the throne thing with Faker so many times. We got to ease back on that one. He's always sitting on a throne looking down at people.
Hey, and look, adding in another LCK championship, okay, but you know what? Yeah, to do the throne bit, you got to be claiming some international world titles. Unfortunately, not seeing T1 do that in a little bit.
Get double-digit LCK titles, or who cares, really. But their season did kick off against Dragon X, a banger of a Week 1 match. That is how you do it. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a rematch of the finals, but it was DRX coming away with the series win. It went the full distance. It was a very spicy matchup. It ended up being Kyria and Deft picking up the MVPs, but we're going to go through all three games. You start with that first one, and it was Lane Kingdom in the bot lane for Dragon X. That Aphelios with Deft and Kyria on the Nautilus, and when the TP came down, or everybody TP'd in the bot lane, the game was over. The game was over at that point.
There was no way to recover from that situation. The only way that you're actually going to be able to get back is if there's consecutive major mistakes from the side of DRX thrown away.
There was at least one mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. There was that one mistake, but that's talking about exactly how strong and what a pivot point that TP play made, given that, yes, you're able to make that mistake, but you're still able to recover and have that position of strength in the match to close it out. That certainly was the big difference maker in game one for me on the side of DRX.
Yeah, and you had a couple less interesting now in this meta, but the Nidalee for Piosik, perfect champion for him, farm away, get 2 levels ahead of the enemy jungler. The Twisted Fate for Chovy, he looked great on it. And Deft's team fighting on Aphelios kind of saved that mistake that maybe could have got T1 back in the game, but they got Aphelios, and that was game one. 200
years always feels good to see.
And you maybe hope for a bit of a cleaner win for Dragon X, because they had almost a 2,000 gold lead even before that TP play, and Deft was up almost 20 CS on Teddy just in that bot side alone. So it was nasty even before that TP. It just took it another level. It does feel bad to see Faker come in, die immediately, and whiff the shockwave, though.
Yeah, that's not exactly what we're used to seeing from him, especially on that Orianna pick that we've seen so much from 4T1.
So we roll into game two. You get the Echo for Chovy. Kana gets the Camille. We remember what Kana did to Doran in that playoff series. He annihilated him in that matchup. And Teddy gets the Kalista. It looked, again, like it was going to be a roll for Dragon X. They get a 2-0 where Deft barely survives. And then they grab a Baron, and you're like, oh my god, are they going to 2-0 T1?
Yeah, it looked like it was done and cooked all already for T1 in this matchup. But look, things can turn around pretty darn quick when you're able to pull off the plays like Kana and Teddy were in this one. Absolutely major players in getting this ship righted for T1 in game two.
Yeah, the Camille, not something we're seeing that much these days, but Teddy was absolutely all over these team fights. It ended up being a Mountain Soul that goes over to T1 and really just outplaying some of these fights. Even though DRX had a Baron, T1 ended up finding a fight to get them back into it. And yeah, Teddy he role-played as the unkillable Demon King in this one to tie the series up at 1. And the third game is really where it gets interesting. Now, game 2 was a banger because it was very back and forth. There were huge objectives with Elder and Baron and everything. But game 3, it was just fun. There was the Bard pick for Kyria, Ziggs for Chovy, and the Kale for Kana. And you heard Atlas and LS talking about 2 different games going on in this match because, listen, Kale into Ornn. Doran did not have fun this game. Even though they won, it was not a fun time for the Ornn.
No, you're not going to have fun into that type of matchup for that situation. And you have to give credit to Doran in the way that he performed in this match, especially from mid-game onwards, because that's the really important thing to look at. When you're talking about his matchup and how things were going, that's not fun. That's really easy to tilt and not be able to recover and deliver the performance that you need. And look, we have seen Doran not stand up to Kana in the past. And again, this is Kana as a rookie. We haven't seen Doran be able to really stack up and deliver the performance for the DRX side. This game 3 for me, and the way that he handled that pressure and how things went on that top side to then have the impact that he does later, that was absolutely major props to Doran.
And because there was a lot of tension given to that top side, it was a big lead for Kana. It was almost a 3,000 gold lead for T1 before 20 minutes. And then the big turning point of the entire game and why he picked up MVP was this insane sequence from Kyria on Bard, where first he lands a beautiful Tempered Fate, and then they take the magical journey, and this flash cosmic binding he does onto 2 eventually nets 4 kills going over to DRX to get them back in the game. This guy, I don't care what champion it is, as long as it's a playmaker, he is absolutely nuts on any playmaker.
And this is one of those ones where you're just really happy that this meta has evolved in this type of way at this time. Because, man, couple years ago, couple splits ago, we weren't really seeing Bards being played. You talk about this champion, you talk about the playmaking that is unlocked for someone with the mind and skill of someone like Kyria down in the bottom side for DRX. It was a major display of skill and talent. And again, this is such a young guy, such a young player at the beginning of his career. This really is exciting to see him pull off these big plays and big plays for DRX to make the difference in their series against T1.
And listen, this guy's in the intro video that we talked about earlier. After one split, you got Deft and Chovy on the roster, and Kyria gets chosen to be in these videos. That speaks to how titanic this guy's debut has been, but also the combo of him throwing out a Bard ulti, and as soon as it pops out, an Ezreal and Ziggs ult hitting you, and they literally one-shot Teddy. The two-shot barrage plus the whatever Ziggs ulti's called, it killed him.
And it's just going to be deja vu for Teddy, because we've seen this before with the Ziggs on the side of DRX. Chovy's had a way to get him down with the one-shots, but this time it's a little bit extra with the Ezreal poured in on top of that damage. And of course, that Ezreal had a death stance, of course, so feeling real nice and strong at that point in the game. And that was all that it was going to take for DRX to seal the deal.
And it was a bit of a weird game because we talked about the huge advantage T1 had with the Kayle, but they didn't really play around it properly. They were giving up a Cloud Dragon or Cloud Soul for free, and then they sent FakerBot to try and kill Doran, but he's an Ornn, man. You can't even dive him. It ended up being a free Baron for DRX. Some really questionable calls and movements around the map from T1, which you almost never saw throughout spring.
Right. This is clearly in the game 3, as much as we're talking about the individual performances and the good job that's been happening on the side of DRX to get this victory. Certainly have to look at T1 and look at the macro decisions that you were making in this game 3 specifically that led to you not being in the optimal positions, not being able to get to certain things. And that certainly is going to be what you're looking at as far as improving, because we know, and as you said, this is not what we've seen from T1 historically, is let alone last split. So certainly going to be seeing some changes, hopefully very soon for T1 side off of that. But you're right. Questionable decisions ended up shooting themselves in the foot as far as what advantages they had and how well DRX played in that match.
And it's just game 1. Absolutely nothing to worry about or concerns for T1, but it does speak to DRX. We've talked about how high this team's ceiling is. Don't think they got close to touching it in spring. And with the continued growth of Kyria, we're going to be talking about him already as one of the best supports in the world. If Piosik can continue to grow, we know how good Chovy and Deft are. This team, it's a world-class team.
And as much as we like to, caution people and limit expectations, obviously saying, week 1, first match, all those type of things, still is incredibly valuable to pick up these type of victories this early on in the split, especially as a squad like DRX. You're going to be trying to fight for them in those very top spots against a T1 organization. So picking up one of these wins now, of course, carries on big value, no matter that it's at the beginning of the split.
these teams weren't even separated by a game for how first to third ended in spring. So yeah, the head-to-heads are even more important. Deft and Kyria both pick up the MVPs. A 1-0 start for Dragon X in summer, 0-1 for T1. The other matchup on the Rift in the LCK, Afrika versus Sandbox, and this was, you saw Yamato Cannon tweet. He's not there for the first game. He's flying over to Korea, so he wasn't, maybe he was drafting from the Wi-Fi on the plane. Don't fully know what the setup was, but it was 2-0 for the Afrika Freaks, so even more work for Yamato when he does get out there. But game one was very close until a fight around Dragon, and then we should have had an Aphelios counter for how many teams got Aphelios in today's games, because Deft was one, and then Mystic decides, let's grab a pentakill on this pick. Mystic?
Yeah.
He's loving the LCK.
He's loving 200 years of experience from Riot Games, putting together a champion with that kit like Aphelios. Oh boy. Yeah, there's a lot to say about that one. That is certainly, you look at that, and Mystic's got a lot of skill, and this is not meant to disparage that, but you look at that play, and you tell me that pentakill happens without Aphelios being a 200-year abomination that he is.
It's a lot closer fight, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you watch this match and this series, certainly does feel good for the Afrika Freaks getting out to this start at the beginning of the split. Didn't reach anywhere close to the level that you would have liked to have seen from this roster, let alone what you hope with players like Keen, like Mystic in this lineup, what they should be able to do. They didn't get to that in spring. So definitely a better start in summer after this one game.
And for these two squads in particular, a lot of the time, the most interesting thing to look at is who's starting, because they've had some crazy roster changes between the two of them. It was Summit and On Fleek for Sandbox in their games. Fly and Spirit and Ben actually starting at support over Jelly. Mystic and Keen are really the only two consistently starting players for the Freaks, or at least they were in spring. So like that lineup out of them. Game two, it was a double MVP day for Mystic, by the way. The second game, he had the Kalista with the Taric, and let me tell you, already with Death's Dance and these 80 carries building 3 lifesteal items, you throw in a Taric, this is like Ardent Sensor meta on steroids, man.
Yeah, the Taric, yeah, the Karma, it is just shields on shields on shields coming through.
It does not look that fun to play against. You think you catch out an 80 carry, and then all of a sudden, your whole team's dead.
Yeah, because the 80 carries built like a top lane bruiser all of a sudden.
Yeah, and
crazy.
You know, for all the people, I think us included, we talked about what the hell's going on with bot lane. Nobody wants to play this. Listen, you got to talk about the clear difference in playing 80 carry in solo queue versus in a competitive setting, because when you build team comps, and you heard Cap say it, 80 carry is one of the strongest roles, but only if your team's built around them. Let me tell you, a Karma and a Taric with their Kalista and 3 lifesteal items, that's built around the Kalista.
You try telling your teammates in solo queue to try and pull that composition together, they're going to say, I want to have fun playing League of Legends. I'm not going to do that. What
I'm going to play
about?
Karma mid. No thanks, pal. I'm going Yasuo. See you later.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah, and then he's 0-7, of course. Hitting. He's going to hit the 0-8 power spike. What am I thinking? I'm getting ahead of myself.
Game ends.
Of course. The Yasuo. Yeah, yikes. But look, this is what you're talking about when you're thinking of compositions and protection. The shields getting out of control. You have the ADCs with the items that there are right now, like a Death Stance in this position that they are. This was a gnarly composition, and one that I don't know how you're able to shred through that in time. And I'll tell you what, Sandbox didn't have the answer either.
No, they absolutely did not. And there were no subs heading into that second game, but it's still obviously wasn't enough for them. I think Yamato should be back for Sandbox's second game, whenever it is on the Rift. But I'm hard pressed to see Sandbox making playoffs heading into this. And we didn't really do a full preseason power ranking for the LCK, but I don't see Sandbox making playoffs. If I'm picking 5 playoff teams, it's the top 3 from last year, of course. You're throwing in Damwon, and I don't even think Hanwha takes out KT from that 5th spot. I think it's the same 5 teams.
You're absolutely going to have that type of competition for those last 2 spots to get into the playoffs is my expectation here. But when you're talking about this squad. Yeah, I don't know if this is the right expectation to put on them right away, but I'm certainly very interested and very hopeful for Yamato Cannon's debut with Sandbox, and I really would like to see this come through because I think that this could be an interesting thing for the scene personally, but especially when you look at Yamato and what his play style is coming towards Sandbox, could be an exciting combination. And obviously, if everything goes right, could be looking real nice for Sandbox. But my expectation right now is that they've got a big hill to climb to get to where they want to be.
And there's really, I mean, team dynamics, who knows what we're going to be getting with them on the Rift, but you look at pretty much all the other bottom tier teams, APK, Hanwha Life, Sandbox we just mentioned, Afrika who just got a win against them. I think all four of them could finish in that 5 spot. I'd still give the edge to KT, but I wouldn't be shocked if any of those teams put together a solid split and ended up taking that final playoff spot.
Yeah, that handful towards the bottom have certainly shown that they can pick up these wins towards at least the middle of the pack teams in the LCK, provide that level of competition. Certainly not exactly the guys that you're thinking, I'm putting money on them when it comes time for the playoffs in the gauntlet, but hey, a playoff spot's a playoff spot, and at least it's not North America where 8 teams are getting playoff spots.
And there's only 3 going to Worlds from Korea. What are the chances a team not named Gen.G, T1, or Dragon X are going to Worlds from the LCK?
I got to think that one is slim to none, given the way that we've seen those top 3 teams play. And look, that's not meant to discourage any of these other squads from trying to do their very best to try and get into the international competitions. But you've watched LCK this last split. You've watched LCK any of the last splits. I can tell you that these top 3 teams will be the ones representing the region at Worlds.
I would love to see a 4th and have teams like Damwon battling for it.
They can take NA's 3rd.
I think, honestly, that is how it should have been. 4-4 and 2, that seems fair. Cloud9, bring someone else, sure. Cloud9 can pick who they want to bring as that 4th or 2nd seed. They've
the 2nd seed from
right.
NA gets to be the cheerleader squad. That's it. We just get to pump up Cloud9. That's it. Our best chance.
Yeah, and maybe you can sub in one player into a game if they feel like. But listen, Cloud9's already saying TSM sucks when they scrim. Team Liquid's good, so maybe they have a good handle on it.
Because TSM's playing on Lenovo laptops. That's the difference.
Yeah, they overheat very quickly. Shout out to Lenovo, our sponsor, of course. Just kidding. We're not sponsored by Lenovo. That's LCK Day 1. There's going to be plenty more games throughout the weeks because they got to catch up to all the other regions around the world. Speaking of one of those regions that has been playing for a long time, the LPL's in week 3. We're playing day 1 in the LCK. The LPL is far ahead. You've already got, I mean, the standings are a little bit surprising. Top eSports being 3-0 is not surprising. But LGD, who made the biggest moves in the offseason, they're 3-0, Mark. 3-0.
Hey, Worlds? The boys getting it done. It's certainly a possibility that this squad is going to be having. And look, the only thing that they're going to be careful of is, of course, what just happened this past day is IG picking up a win and looking a lot stronger. That is going to be the one thing that you're obviously going to have to look at if you're one of these LPL squads looking to climb into that picture for the top seeds to go to Worlds, because I tell you what, you're not going to be bouncing out top and you're not going to be bouncing out Fun Plus Phoenix. And I'd be hard-pressed to think that JDG are going to get squeezed out of here. So that means you got one spot left to try and grab, and that one's going to be hotly contested.
Yeah, it was IG picking up the 2-0 against Rogue Warriors today, which, you know, beating Rogue Warriors doesn't immediately instill confidence back into IG, but it was back-to-back games with Ning on an early game jungler, played Rek'Sai and Lee Sin, and he was dominating the early game. This looked like 2018 Ning on the Rift, Mark. What happened?
They talked about it. Ning said, look, we've been playing a lot of stuff that's not exactly meta, so we took a look at the patch notes and understood it and said, let's play some of these meta champions. And
big brain play.
Whoa, all of a sudden playing these meta champions, IG looking nice and strong. You said it, against Rogue Warriors, so you got to be careful how much stock you want to put into this victory. But as far as individual performances and in general, again, the draft, things like that, a lot happier with what I saw from IG today compared to what we've seen in the previous weeks.
The Shy played Jace and Quinn, and he was fine. He died a lot less than we've been seeing lately. The last, 2 months. But I'm used to seeing him play Quinn and be up 40 CS, absolutely smashing the lane. He picked it into the Renekton, which is supposed to be the counter. And look, he didn't play badly or anything, but I'm spoiled. I'm accustomed to seeing this guy dominate on the Rift.
Look what he has delivered over the last year or so. The expectation has to be to dominate on the Rift against the competition. Again, especially against Rogue Warriors. That is absolutely the bare minimum that you're expecting from a player like the Shy. And once again, we're not getting quite that level of performance from him. And it's hard to be really all that negative because yes, you're getting a victory here and look, it's looked a lot better and was a lot cleaner than we had seen in previous weeks. So you got to take something here, but certainly still, this is that indication of how strong he is at his very peak, that we're talking about him not at that level still.
And I mean, IG, they're 2-1. They're still moving up, tied with Titans of the LPL, like Victory 5. Maybe if they keep playing, they'll be a little better than a squad like that.
Hey, what a summer for Victory 5.
2 more wins than last split already. Amazing for them. EDG also picked up a win. They went to Game 3 against Suning this morning, and Game 3 was it was a spicy one. There was a massive kill lead for EDG throughout the whole game, but the gold lead was relatively close, and you even had a stolen Baron from Suning by SFM. They had a Mountain Soul, and it was 2 Elder Dragons that went over to EDG. But Suning loses with a Mountain Soul and a stolen Baron, so that's impressive.
Oh. Yeah, impressive in a feels bad man type of way. Not the result you want when you pick up like that, but you said it. Like, yeah, the kills were completely in the advantage for EDG, but absolutely the gold was being kept relatively close, and that's obviously where you get to these fights being so tough and so tight where they were. And
I think Suning overall has probably looked better than people have expected so far going into this year. Now they're sitting at 2-3, which isn't great, but they've been very competitive. They had a chance to win this series. 2-3, it's just insane. They've already played 5 series. These guys have played 12 games. Most LCK teams haven't been on the Rift yet. But there's 8 teams, or 2-1 is like 8th in the LPL right now. And I know it's way too early to actually be paying attention to the standings, but it's going to be another season of insanely stacked records you're going to need to make playoffs.
Look, we were already incredibly excited about all of these races towards Worlds, qualifying, playoffs, all that everything that gets thrown into that bag. We were all excited about that. And then you add in, of course, the changes this year, having that extra seed, that extra spot for these regions. Having that extra spot is a massive difference maker for a lot of these players individually. Getting that chance to go to Worlds, another spot here from another squad, absolutely raises the stakes. And that's what I know we're going to see from the LPL this split, is that hunger, that desire to get one of those spots to go to the international event. Certainly is going to be one hell of a ride here in the LPL.
And people are already claiming Top as the 3rd different LPL team to win a world championship in 3 years. But we'll see when they actually get there. But that is all the time today for League Unlocked. Mark and Eric here with you guys. As always, thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you guys and gals on that flippity.